What's up, y'all? I'm Chef Brandon Allen and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be cooking a holiday themed dinner, or just consider it a winter themed dinner. Stuff that's great for when it's cold, or Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever you'd like it to be. And we're going to be infusing several elements of our dish today with some true terpenes. We have some myrcene, terpinolene. I'm probably going to end up using a little bit of linalool, some limonene. I mean, I'm cooking with terpenes anyway, so I might as well just add a little extra to, change the experience and increase the aromatics and some of the flavor of the various dishes that we're gonna make today. So let's get started. Just to walk you through our ingredients, so we're gonna roast some beautiful chickens. Gonna make a roasted garlic and goat cheese cauliflower mash. Got our veggies here for our mirepoix, and some cremini mushrooms that we're gonna roast with some Brussels sprouts. And then I'm gonna make a really fresh cranberry sauce. And that's where a lot of the terpenes are gonna come into play, and all these beautiful fresh herbs to stuff the chicken. I even have some hops, some dried Amarillo hops that we're gonna use in the chicken as well. Tons of butter. We've got our goat cheese there, and I cannot wait. Now, this actually is going to be a relatively simple dinner. All the recipes that I share here are very, very basic. So it's just a matter of breaking everything down, getting your mise en place together, and then just following basic and standard cooking techniques. Today, we're going to be doing a holiday themed dinner. I've got some beautiful chickens to roast, a bunch of veggies, a bunch of herbs, butter, goat cheese, and that's that. So here's the menu. The first thing that we're gonna work with would be our chickens. We're gonna get these guys in the oven sooner than later, only because this is going to take the longest time to cook. So I have 2 chickens because I want to have leftovers, and what we're gonna do is just stuff these with a bunch of fresh herbs. I have some sage, some rosemary, and fresh thyme, and then of course I'm gonna use some hops in there as well, and definitely some butter. Can't forget about the butter. A little salt, maybe some black pepper on the inside, but I'm gonna save the black pepper for when we actually finish the gravy at the very, very end. Now for my mash, you gotta have some type of mashed potato. So I have cauliflower. We're gonna do a roasted garlic, goat cheese, super buttery cauliflower mash, which I'm psyched about. And then of course I have my carrots, celery, and onion for my mirepoix, which is going to go all around the chickens when they're roasting, which is not only just going to be delicious to eat, but it's going to help develop all the flavors of the gravy. I have some cremini mushrooms and some Brussels sprouts that we're going to roast. That'll be served with the mash, of course. And then we're gonna do a fresh cranberry sauce. So I have the cranberry, I have a little bit of orange, I have some agave, a little bit of honey, whatever we need to sweeten that up. And then I'm going to be focusing on all the different terpenes that are found in all of these ingredients, and we're going to be enhancing this dish, well, these dishes, with some myrcene, some terpinolene. I'm probably gonna end up using some limonene, linalool, and then I'm going to infuse with some CBD isolate. Now, the reason I'm just doing CBD today is because I have different people, some can and some can't consume, so I wanna make sure that everyone is able to, pass a drug test when they're done my meal. And then there'll be other meals where I'm not worried about that, but for today, that is definitely a concern. So there's our ingredients. You can see that this is overall very, very basic. I've got some protein, I've got some veg, I've got some herbs, I've got some fat. There's nothing fancy here. This is actually really, really inexpensive as well. And what's great is you're already cooking with terpenes with all the amazing ingredients we have here coming from the ground. I'm just gonna add some extra terpenes because when I cook with terpenes, I love the fact that they can completely change your perspective of a dish. They can totally change the aromatics, which can just mess with your memories in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, depending on what aromatics you enjoy and what you don't. But if you use just enough isolated terpene when you're looking to use them as an ingredient in food, just enough. You can just take it from here to another level. And at the same time, if you use too much, you can just totally destroy a dish because these are super potent and they are super strong. So I use True Terpenes. These are all GRAS, which means generally recognized as safe. They are organic, they're food grade, and these are non-cannabis derived terpenes. But they're isolated molecules, okay? So all the terpenes that I'm using, they are the same structure as if they were coming from cannabis. The difference is, you know, a lot of people talk about cannabis-derived terpenes. Well, there's up to 200 different terpenes that are found in a single cannabis cultivar. So if you do a full spectrum terpene extract of cannabis, you have something that's incredibly unique to that individual strain or cultivar. Whereas when you have these isolated molecules, and I'm only working with, you know, I have about 10, maybe a dozen different terpenes that I play with, I'm never going to 100% recreate the aromatic spectrum of a cannabis-derived terpene extract, but I have all the dominants. So I have myrcene and limonene and linalool and beta-caryophyllene, terpinolene, geraniol, I've got citral, I've got pretty much all the ones that are in cannabis as well as all these ingredients here, and that's what I'm gonna have fun with today. Now, you can not only use terpenes as enhancing your food as an ingredient, but you can also use it to add to flour or add to extracts to totally change the effects, since terpenes are what drive the effects. What makes you sedative and calm would be the myrcene and the linalool, whereas what makes you more uplifted and euphoric and stimulating would be the limonene, the pinene, and terpinolene. So the terpenes drive the effects, but what's also really interesting and really important to consider is that the olfaction, the olfactory stimulation of terpenes does one thing. The inhalation does another. The inhalation with cannabis does yet another thing, and then the digestion is a completely different ballgame. So consumption determines function. Today, I'm not making any medical claims about terpenes in the sense that adding them to your food is going to provoke medicinal benefits. As a chef though, I look at terpenes as yet another ingredient. It's another tool, just like my pantry, my spices, and all the different things that I have in my cabinet here. It's another thing to enhance the experience and totally change the flavor and the aromatics of your recipe. So let's get rocking here. We've got, since I gotta get this chicken going, I would say we're gonna nail this first. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna preheat my oven to 450 degrees because we're going to cook the chicken first at a really, really high heat to help get a nice browning of the skin and also aid in the texture. And then we're gonna cut the heat down, and I'll explain that as we get to it. So I'm gonna get some of my ingredients here out of the way so we can get rocking on this. We're definitely going to be using our fresh herbs, our terpenes, some butter, and hops for this. And we'll get y'all off to the side. But we also have to get together our mirepoix, which is M-I-R-E-P-O-I-X, mirepoix. 2 words. And mirepoix would be onion, celery, and carrot. Generally, the ratio for mirepoix would be 2 parts onion, 1 part celery, 1 part carrot. That's just your standard mirepoix. Most soups, pretty much anything that's cooked with many ingredients like a braise or soup or even a lot of sauces, they start with mirepoix. I'm gonna put my chicken here, back off to the side for a little bit. Let's grab a blade, hit this with a honing steel. Remember, this is a honing steel. This is not a knife sharpener. So all this is doing is helping maintain the let's start over. This is a honing steel. This is not a knife sharpener. What it's doing is maintaining the edge of the blade that is already sharpened with the knife sharpener. There is a little magnet in here, and as you go along at your 15 to 20 degree angle, the magnet is pulling little tiny fragments and tiny bits of steel that are essentially getting in the way of the blade being sharp. Now I'm just gonna trim this off right here. And now for the celery, I want decent chunks of celery. I don't want them too small. So we're gonna go about a 1/2 inch. And I'm not doing your standard ratio of mirepoix. I'm doing the standard of whatever I have here. And that's that. The reason I'm doing bigger chunks of celery is I actually want to be able to taste the celery towards the end in the entire gravy and everything. Now, I'm just going to, where's my board scraper? Bench scraper. Hey, so we got 20-some people that are hanging out. I appreciate everyone coming so far. I think Jordan is going to shoot me a host a little later, which I'm psyched about. So we'll have a big room here. Also, Jordan and Truth are going to be coming by to enjoy this holiday dinner. So I'm saying holiday dinner, but just think winter. If you're cold, make this meal. It'll make you feel good, okay? Hell, even if you live in the fucking jungle, make it. It'll make you feel good because it tastes good. You can handle a little heat from here and there. All right, and now the carrots here, I'm just gonna trim off the top. I already peeled these, TV magic. Just trimming off the top so I can get rid of the little bit of the stems. And I'm going to do what's called an oblique cut. So I'm basically just spinning the carrot and roughly chopping this. So again, this is an oblique cut. So all you do is basically on an angle and then spin the carrot like a quarter, and then that's that. I've heard it also called a farmer's cut. It's basically just supposed to be really rough and nothing uniform in shape. Well, uniform in size, but not uniform in shape. That's the whole goal here. So they do cook evenly, but you're not, worried about having like perfectly shaped carrots and coins, whatever. Now my oven again is preheated or preheating. I got that going up to 450. And we're gonna get this rocking pretty quickly and get this in the oven because it's gonna take probably about an hour and a half for the chicken to cook, which y'all know that my streams are generally 2.5 or so plus hours. And I'm just gonna throw my carrots in there. I'll spread this out a little bit later. And now let's dive into our onions. So I'm probably just gonna end up doing one onion here. Remember, I'm cutting off the north and the south, the stem and the root end. Now I have a nice flat surface. Now I'm gonna cut this down the center. You're never cutting an onion across the equator unless you are making what? Who's been paying attention and knows one of my biggest pet peeves? The only reason that you would cut an onion down the equator is if you're making what? There's a couple answers for this one, but there's one that I usually use as my specific analogy. And onion rings, never lucky, rubber ducky. Best technique not to cry when cutting onions, get yourself some contacts actually. As odd as that may sound, people with contacts will cry less, or just get used to it. Cut onions as often as you can. Now, I'm not gonna do a close up and super fast chopping for this one. All I'm gonna do is just kind of third this. I want nice, decent, country, rugged, big chunks of onion here. Smells great. So another thing is the whiter the onion, the most likely the stronger it will be, okay? So if you buy white onions or yellow onions, the lighter color or closer to white, it's just gonna make you cry. A little bit stronger. The red onions aren't too bad, but the biggest thing is just get yourself some contacts if you're that worried about it. Wear some goggles. Let's see here. So I have a bunch of fresh herbs and some hops. So why do I have hops? Hops are actually the cannabis families or the cannabis genus. It's its cousin. So there's Cannabaceae at the top. And then what happened is from there we have Humulus lupulus, which would be hops. And Cannabis and Humulus lupulus broke off from their ancestor species some 20 million plus years ago. Hops went one way, cannabis went the other way, which is pretty interesting. So they have very similar aromatic compounds. Now, just like there's a bunch of different cannabis cultivars, there are a bunch of different hops out there. So I know like Citra hops is one of them that I've always enjoyed. This is Amarillo or Amarillo. I'm not sure if what it is the LL, la, or is it ya for the LL sound? I'm not sure. Let's say Amarillo, because I think that's how it's said. So with these, they have very similar terpene profiles as cannabis. And it smells really, really good. And these hop cones are pretty small because they're dried out, but these guys can get, you know, yay big, and they look like a little pine cone. And very citrusy, very floral. There's a lot of like this danky earthiness that comes to it. And I'm going to mince some of this up. I'm gonna make a little bit more room here. You know, I got 2 chickens. This is really strong too, so I'm only gonna use a little bit. Now, what I'm doing right now is the cross chop. So I have my knife here going parallel to the cutting board from the top to the bottom. And I'm pinching the top of my handle or the base of the blade and the tip there. But my fingers are out of the way of the blade. And all I'm doing is just pivoting over, going back and forth here, and mincing up some hops. And now, even with the onion on my cutting board, it actually smells quite fantastic. All right, so we've got some hops. So I'm going to actually kind of just sprinkle this around because I want this to season and flavor my, what will be my gravy eventually. All right, so that's going in there. Boom. Okay. Rabski, cutting down the equator. Well, next time you do that, you're gonna know that I'm standing behind you with a knife. Don't do it again. All right, now I've got some thyme. I've got some thyme, rosemary, and sage. So I'm gonna divide this up into 2 because half is gonna go into one bird and half is gonna go into the other. You can tell already this is going to be a very, very flavorful dish with the amount of terpenes that we have in all of these. Now, if you look up the chemical constituents of various herbs, you will find that there are a lot of really dominant terpenes that across the board you'll find in pretty much nearly everything, like pinene and limonene, linalool, myrcene, carine is one I see a lot, geraniol, all these different herbs that or terpenes that you find in a lot of these fresh green herbs. Now, what I'm going to do is basically just shove this inside the bird. It's that simple. So let's get this off here. Bird number 1, and get some of the hop off there so it doesn't burn, char. Okay, this is pretty simple. There you go. Nothing nothing too fancy here. And then the other one. Excuse me. Which hop variety? I have Amarillo. Amarillo. That's the variety we've got today. Ooh, slippy chicken. All right. And we're shoving this one in there. And now I just minced up, I don't know, maybe a quarter, not even a quarter cup worth, maybe a total of a quarter cup once it was actually totally chopped up here. With some mirepoix. And now it's time to use some butter. Now, I've seen this done a couple different times by a couple different chefs, including my absolute favorite, which is Anthony Bourdain, which is where he takes butter and basically shoves it underneath the skin, between the meat and the skin, like so. I'll just put like 4. These are roughly tablespoon cut slices here. And this is going to, well, one, aid in flavor. It's going to aid in the mouthfeel. And it's also going to help crisp up this bird as it's cooking. And this butter is going to melt pretty quickly, but it's just going to drizzle all down through every nook and cranny of this delicious, delicious little hen here. Oh, I'm sticking it in, guys. Don't worry. We got this. All right. Couple extra calories there, but hey, it's the holiday, right? Okay. So we've got our fresh herbs. We've got some butter in here. And now what I'm going to do is show you how to basically, without trussing the bird, which is using butcher's twine to basically keep the bird really nice and tight together so it cooks evenly. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a different angle here. All right. So there's a lot of fat right here, which is the skin. So what I'm going to do is just put a little slice. You can see it's like super thick here. It's stronger right at the base of that. I'm just going to come through maybe an inch or so, a little bit more. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drumstick and I'm going to pop the drumstick over like that. And as long as I can get it in, there we go. And now what's happening is that fat is actually holding this in place. And now you don't have to worry about trussing. You're just using what you've got, which is the bird and a little extra skin. Okay. Beautiful. This one didn't want to come through all the way, so let's give this a little slice. Oh, do you smell the chicken? All right, so there we go. Helps keep it in just a little bit. It'll relax a bit, but I'm also going to be temping this bird, so I'm not too worried about it overcooking. Now, and then what you can do is you can take the wings and you can just fold them back like so. Honestly, there's hardly any meat on the wings here, and it's the dark meat, so it doesn't really like get too overcooked. Now, normally when you truss it, it would be nice and tight like this, okay? And what that is also doing is protecting some of the breast meat, but it's really not too much. I mean, look at those freaking things hanging out. All right, now there's that. I'm gonna put this just right on top of my mirepoix. I'm gonna get this guy rocking. Has anyone ever seen that trick before with the fat? The skin, being able to use it as your truss. Pop it right in there. Boom. All right. Wow, see that tore a little bit up there? So it's not as tight, but hey, it'll work. Again, you're just pushing the wings back. Sometimes you hear a little crack. It's all right. Just a little chiropractic work there. And there we go. Now, there is a ton of flavor happening here with these beautiful, beautiful hens. Okay, so now we're gonna hit this with a pretty good amount of salt. Now you can salt the inside of the bird, you can salt the bottom, whatever you want, but really this is all going to be cut up and sliced anyway, so a lot of the flavor that we're getting is not going to be necessarily salted. So you're gonna end up making the gravy salted. I'm gonna get a decent amount on the inside here, but there we have it. So now we're ready to get this guy in the oven, and that's that. Or do we want to add some terpenes to this. Now, I was thinking about this earlier about taking a little bit of myrcene and just rubbing it onto the skin of the chicken. Just, I mean, like a couple drops and rubbing it in, because it'll change the aromatics, but it's just a small amount that'll be in there. And I'm really curious, like at the end when that skin is nice and crispy and essentially almost fried at that point because of the amount of butter we have in here and all the fat that's in the skin, if that myrcene flavor would shine through with that like earthy floral sharpness that it has. So what do you guys think? Do we add a touch of myrcene, like 2 drops on each, rub it in with this salt, really good. Give me some thumbs, let me know if you think that this is what we should rock on here. Yeah, maybe. Let's check over and see if Facebook. Hey, my mom's watching on Facebook. Hi, Mom. Okay, so I've got the opening of the chicken are facing me this way, which is how I'm gonna put them in the oven. So we're gonna do myrcene on the right. You guys remember that. Myrcene is going to be on the right-hand side. And where's my little dropper drop? That's the technical term for it. What the hell? Ooh, that myrcene smells good. I have my little dropper. Oh. In my drawer. It's my dropper drawer. Okay. 2 drops, that's it. I know that this is gonna go a long way. So here we go. We're gonna go. Do we need a little close up for this? All right, so we're gonna go 1, 2. That's it. I don't want to. You can always add, but you can't take away when you're dealing with things like this. Keep that in mind, folks, especially with things like salt, sugar, acid, spice, but mainly salt and spice. If I really had to narrow it down, you can't take them away. All right, so I'm just rubbing this in. It smells really good. This is going to be interesting. All right. It smells great. Once all the aromatics start like breaking up, and then that myrcene is going to penetrate in through the skin here, and this butter is going to help carry it around. Those 2 tiny little drops. And then I'm massaging the salt in more. Okay. Good girl. All right, now we're going to throw this right in the oven. Remember, myrcene is on the right. And I have this at 450 degrees, and we're going to set a timer here for 20 minutes. Then we're going to cut the heat down to 350. And I'm basically just going to throw in my meat thermometer, which will come out of the oven here, and I'm just going to let it go. So whatever that time is, we'll figure it out. These are just over 5. One, I think, was 5 1/4 and 5 1/2 pounds of these chickens. Kim on Facebook just asked, what is myrcene? Myrcene is a terpene, and terpenes build up the essential oils of plants. So myrcene is commonly associated with broadleaf marijuana, or what y'all call indica. Technically, it's Indica subspecies afghanica. Varietals of cannabis are very high in myrcene. Myrcene provokes more of a calming, soothing, sedative couch lock effect when it's consumed with THC, and it's also calming and soothing without THC. Another one that's very similar to myrcene would be linalool, which is found in lavender. Now, myrcene is really high in various hops species, different or subspecies of hops, different varietals of hops, and it is just this earthy, danky, floral, just delicious smelling terpene, and it's myrcene, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun with myrcene and whatever else we end up getting going today. Terpenes are used for, Robsky said that I think they use myrcene in these fragrances that I use. Yes, myrcene and limonene and linalool and all these different terpenes are used in a lot of fragrances. They're used in a lot of soaps. They're used in detergents, whether it's under your sink or in your laundry room. It's used all over. Like I have some Myers multi-surface everyday cleaner. Let's see. It just says, okay, so it says leaf oil, lemon peel oil, bark extract. We've got, it says fragrance, so some type of terpene. Yeah, so there's terpenes like crazy in here. There's even terpenes in sparkling water, folks. What do you think gives it this grapefruit flavor? Terpenes. Speaking of drinks and terpenes, let's see here. When I was preparing this menu, I was trying to think of what to pair it with outside of just cannabis. And I was thinking about wine. So I'm standing in the wine section and I am looking up all these different types of wines that are very heavy terpene based. Right. So one of the heaviest terpene wines comes from Moscato, which are from Muscat grapes. And next to that, there is this guy. And I know that I'm definitely going to need help pronouncing this. Ready? Gewurztraminer. Gewurztraminer. So it's Gewurztraminer. And I'm pretty sure that I'm saying this properly. I even actually wrote it down. Here we go. So there's the wine. This is another very terpene heavy wine. So it's Gewurztraminer. Gewurztraminer. So this is on the sweeter side. It's a white. It's generally not my cup of tea, but I was reading about how it's really heavy in terpenes, very floral, very earthy, very fruity. It just depends on the vineyard and the terroir of that specific region. But we're gonna give this a try because it's evidently a terpene heavy wine, and that's that. All right, so let's rock here with a little bit of vino. Gewurztraminer. Gewurztraminer. Everyone, right now, no matter where you're at, just say out loud, whether you're home or work or like babysitting, Gewurztraminer. And then give me thumbs that you actually said it. Gewurztraminer. I hope I'm actually saying it right. I had to look it up. It smells sweet. It smells good though. It's very, 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 wow. It actually smells really good. Whew. I'm excited actually because it does smell. Okay, so through interpening, which is what I teach through Trichome Institute, which is the cannabis sommelier, so it's a legitimate cannabis expert. We teach people how to identify quality and predict the psychotropic effects of flower based off of the physical and aromatic properties. And one of the things that we teach in this is not what you're smelling, but where you feel sensations in your nose. Now, we were putting this course online, we just filmed it, but what I'm gonna do is interpene this wine based on the terpenes as if it were cannabis, and I'm feeling it right here smack dab in the bridge and just a little lower on my nose. And I would consider this to be an MLM because of where it's hit. It's not too high, it's not too low. So if this were the terpene profile of cannabis, I would put it in the medium leaf marijuana spectrum, and that would have very bounced euphoria, not too sedative, not too stimulating. Now this is wine, so it's a different thing. But cheers, guys. Hey, if you're all are drinking, it's Friday night, so if y'all are having a drink, let me know what you're sipping on, whether it's some bourbon, a little bit of beer, a little bit of Gewurztraminer, whatever it is. Cheers. Wow, this is definitely sweet. Sweeter than what I normally enjoy. But I enjoy it because it's sharp. It's got a little bite. There's almost like a very super faint carbonation, if you will, to it. I'm digging it. Woo! Yeah, that's got a bite to it. All right. Hops. How did hops find their way into beer? Based off of what I was taught before I worked at a beer garden and bartended there for a while. They explained that there was a trade route from Europe all the way down into India, and beer was big. But what was happening is the beer, because there's no kegs and refrigeration and bottling and things like that, with carbonation in the way, in the sense that we think of a sealed bottle now, back then, the beer was going really stale and rancid. It was spoiling. So what they figured out is, because of the medicinal aspects to hop essential oils, which are used as like an antiseptic, used for anti-inflammatory, for topicals, like there's all these different like ancient remedies using hops oil. So what they did is they put the hops into the beer, and it aided as a preservative, which is really cool. So your IPA is India Pale Ale, because it was a pale ale from Europe that now had hops, which probably were either coming from India, I don't know, I'm speculating there, maybe not, or just had to do with the trade routes. Oh wait, you guys can probably hear that helicopter. That thing was fucking loud. Anyway, so your IPA India Pale Ale stems from the trade route from Europe to India, and they threw hops in this beer to act as a preservative so they wouldn't spoil, and that's what gave it that really like bitter, hoppy flavor that, you know, a lot of people can't stand. But I used to love IPAs a lot, and then I started getting much wider this way and wider that way, and I had to lay off the beer. Like hops are very terpene heavy, so there is a lot of research that talks about different uses for isolated terpenes as well as these essential oils. So my guess is that a lot of what aided in the preservation of these IPAs, this beer on the trade route, came down to the terpenes. And here we go. All right, let's do this, folks. What's next? We're gonna get our cranberries going. And the reason why is these things are gonna take quite some time. What I'm gonna do is just dump, these are fresh cranberries, right into a pan here. And I'm going to fill this with water just enough to cover the cranberries, and I'm just going to let it simmer. So what I wanna do is pull out the juices, I wanna pull out the terpenes, I wanna pull out the flavonoids and everything else that's in here by letting this simmer. I also wanna soften them quite a bit, a little bit more. A lot of this is gonna evaporate out, and I wanna soften this, so I'm basically concentrating these flavors. And as I concentrate the flavor, I can always add more liquid in to thin this out later. We're gonna add some orange juice, some orange zest, and I was looking at the chemical constituents of cranberries, and they're very, very, very low in terpenes. However, the terpenes that are present, the highest is terpinolene or terpinolene or terpinolene, however you like to say it. I say terpinolene. This is the most dominant terpene that you can find in your cranberry. Now, terpinolene by itself is known to be very calming and sedative and relaxing. However, terpinolene, when combined with THC in strains like Jack Herrera, which is more on the narrow leaf, dominant to narrow leaf side of the spectrum, very stimulating, very uplifting, very euphoric. When I smell terpinolene in cannabis, I know to stay far away from it because I am more on the sedative side of the spectrum when it comes to my choice of cultivar. Now, what's interesting is a lot of OG varietals like OG Kush, they are very high in myrcene, which is what we added on the chicken here, but they have a little touch of terpinolene. So there's sometimes where you smoke these broadleaf marijuana dominant cultivars, and you have this like super, super intense couch lock body high, but your mind is wired. You're just like, you're just stuck to the couch, but you're awake, you're coherent, you're thinking about stuff. And that's because of that touch of terpinolene that likes to jump out there. So know your terps, folks, because the terpenes determine the effects of cannabis. All right, so I've got my cranberries over here. They're rocking. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in here, just a touch. And we're going to get that flavor town rocking when it's needed. Now the chicken, like I said, is gonna take a little while, probably another hour or so after, well, this is about up. So here we go. My cranberries are popping. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but I'm going to put a lid on here. I forgot about that part. So I don't want that bursting everywhere. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring my temperature back down to 350. And now I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna temp one of these birds. Y'all ready? All right. Oh, so you can see there's a little bit, whoo, that's hot. A little bit of browning, which is looking good. You can see where the butter's at and the salt on top of the one on the left there. So I'm gonna come in and I'm going to probe this right about there into the breast. And that is what we're gonna work with. Okay. Which is 118 degrees already. That is not right. I might have gone through too far. 1 second, y'all. Okay. Cool. All right. Here we go. Okay, so now we are ready to get rocking here with the rest of this dish. So I've got the cranberries going here. These are popping in the background. We're gonna get our cauliflower mash going next. So what I'm gonna do is just fill this pot up with some hot water and start breaking down our cauliflower. I'm just gonna pop off the bulk of the stem. Cauliflower is so messy to work with. And I'm just going to rough chop this up because this is all gonna get turned into a mash and I'm not too worried about having even pieces right now. Seriously, the absolute messiest ingredient to work with, cauliflower. All right. Now, I want this to be pretty well mashed. Not quite a puree, but definitely it's gonna be pretty damn creamy. There might be little chunks here and there that stick in here for a little bit of texture, but that's totally fine. And then, hey, after I get done this cauliflower, y'all gotta remind me that I have to get the garlic in the oven to start roasting, all right? Okay. So I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and then we're gonna add our cauliflower in. In the meantime, I'm gonna get this on a sheet tray and out of the way. Chicken on the right has the myrcene. Yes, I have the probe and the chicken on the left, so I will remember, hopefully I'll remember. Depends on how much of this Gewürztraminer I end up having. And that's what Twitch is for, to help me when I have too much wine. All right, so what you're gonna do here to roast this garlic, all I'm gonna do is cut off the top, just a little bit of it, okay? I'm gonna cut that off. I'm gonna discard that. And then I'm gonna put this in a tiny little ramekin. A little oven-safe ramekin. Like so. And I'm gonna hit this with a tiny little bit of olive oil right on top. Keep that out. I'm gonna do a little pinch of salt as well. Actually, a decent amount of salt, because that's gonna help, I don't know, do chemistry stuff. And I'm just gonna throw this in the oven, just like this. And what I'm going to do now is set a timer for, let's do 15 minutes. And what time is it? So it is 7:54. So let's say I crank the heat down on the turkeys at like 7:45. So worst case, by 8:45, they should definitely be almost done if they aren't already. That's what I'll say. Okay, so now we're gonna go over to our garlic's in there. This is such an easy recipe. That's like the reality. I'm kind of like, normally I'm like cutting all this stuff and doing all these things, but this is pretty basic. So I have our Brussels sprouts and our cremini mushrooms, and once the chicken is closer to being done is when I'm going to throw these in the oven. A lot of stuff happening in the oven today because it's just easy. So I'm going to do some olive oil, and for the Brussels here we'll do a little bit of salt, or a lot of bit of salt, some black pepper. Where's everyone from tonight? Where are y'all from? I've lived in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maine, Chicago, Illinois area. I've lived in Denver, Colorado, Austin, Texas, Los Angeles. I'm in San Diego now. I've lived all over the place, and I've lived in like 5 or 6 different places, each of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So I've been all over. So where are y'all from? Oregon, Georgia, Wisconsin, Iceland, San Fran, Oklahoma City, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Australia. Nice, Australia. What time is it in Australia where you're at? Ooh, this olive oil smells absolutely fantastic. Really enjoying that. Okay, so I have salt, pepper. I'm already gonna have garlic elsewhere, so I'm good there. So I'm just gonna do salt, pepper on here, and we're gonna get this on a sheet tray. I'm gonna use a sheet tray with a baking rack because I want these guys to get crispy, so I don't want them just like hanging out and steaming on the bottom. I want them to get crisped up. All right, so we've got this ready. And now we're going to get our cremini mushrooms rocking. And all I'm going to do is same thing, salt and pepper. I'm going to finish these off with some lemon juice when they're done. But the whole idea of these Brussels and the cremini is to let them taste like they should. They're earthy, they're herbaceous even. I want them to taste like mushroom, like Brussels. Because the two items that are really going to dominate this dish are going to be the gravy as well as the cranberry sauce, but you don't have to have it in every bite. So I want that to be optional. And then we're going to have every once in a while this like just natural pure flavor of the mushroom and the Brussels. I'm thinking maybe a touch of spice on these, a touch. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Okay. Man, these things just absorbed everything. This bowl had like so much oil on it. Look how clean the bowl looks off to the side. It's like these mushrooms just absorb it all. Okay, so I'll fan these out. Okay, there's a lot of moisture in these mushrooms. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a lot of the mushrooms, here, let me move this out of the way. I'm putting the mushrooms upright or upside down. So what's gonna happen is as these cook, all the moisture is gonna stay inside them and kind of like steam themselves. And once I jostle these around later, that'll drain out and it'll hit the pan beneath. It'll be nice and hot, and that mushroom steam will like kind of go all over everything here, and it's going to be quite delicious. Kind of like just instead of just letting it pour out and then slowly steam, it'll be faster. So hopefully a lot of that flavor will permeate through. East Germany, Zimbabwe, holy. This is what's amazing about Twitch is y'all are everywhere. And then, hey, YouTube, anyone there? Nope, it's just me. Pittsburgh. Oh, Jade, Jade, you were just on, were you just on YouTube and now you're over on Facebook? Welcome. All right, so let's check out our cranberry. Ooh, that's freaking hot, man. All right, so I'm going to actually swap these so the camera can see over here. Be right with y'all. All right, beautiful. Got this here. Great. Okay, so let's check out our cranberries. These guys are simmering away, and you can see all that steam that's coming out of here, evaporating. And now we're just gonna let this go. So it's really going to concentrate these flavors from the cranberry. Ooh, it smells really good. Now, just from the natural sugars that are in here, you can see that this has thickened up the liquid, the water. And the pectin, I'm guessing, as well, is thickening this up. So this, we are off to a really good start. They're nice and plumped up. This is great. So I have, I'm gonna blend this at some point, and I think that that's gonna thicken this up enough that I'm not going to have to add any type of agar or any type of thickening agent. I think we're gonna be good, especially as this reduces down. Yeah, that's got almost like a syrup consistency right now. And this is gonna be super tart at this point. Curious. Ooh. Yeah, super tart. So I'm gonna, I knew it was gonna be tart, but holy crap. So I'm gonna add some agave. I guess I should get a measuring cup just so y'all can actually follow with what I'm putting in here. So agave is pretty concentrated, but I'm gonna start off with a quarter a cup of the agave, and that should do the trick, I hope, because I don't want it too sweet. I do want tart. I want sweet as well. So my fan just came on because I've got so much heat happening here. So guys, let me know if you can still hear me okay, or if I need to, well, actually there's nothing I can do. So hopefully you can hear me and there's only a touch of background noise from the fan. This is pretty much gonna be on for the rest of the time just because of the heat that's happening here. I'm gonna open up some other windows and get some circulation here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to drink a whole bottle of that wine, to be honest with you. It's a little bit too sweet. Sounds fine, cool. Thanks folks, appreciate it. Yeah, it's good, it's just, it is sweet. And as it's warmed up, the terpenes, the aromatics have actually loosened up as well. It's a little bit softer aromatically, but it's still abundant. Awesome. Okay, so we've got our cranberries here. I just added our agave. And I'm just gonna let this reduce. This is on medium heat right now. And I'm just gonna let this reduce down. I'm actually gonna throw in our, actually no, I'm gonna wait until I zest it, because we're gonna put some lime zest in here. Let's add some terpenes. When I was looking at the chemical constituents of cranberry, like I said, it was really, really high in terpinolene, even though there's hardly any terpenes in cranberry, and there are other elements like the flavonoids that aid in the aroma profile. The terpenes that are in there still make cranberry smell what they smell like, even though they're not super high. So I'm gonna just bring that terpinolene up a little bit more. So I have some of True Terpenes terpinolene. It smells like a sweet turpentine. Really, that's where I'm at with it. Jack Herrera is a strain or a cultivar that a lot of people recognize when they smell this high terpinolene. And I think all I'm gonna do is just put, let's see here, to give you guys a little close up of what's happening here. So here's the terpinolene, 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 whatever you like to say, either. I say terpinolene. We're just gonna do 1, 2, 3. Let's start with 3 drops, and then we can always add more, because I also want to throw a little citral in here and maybe a little bit of myrcene as well. So we're gonna have some fun. We're really gonna turn this into something totally different compared to your normal cranberry sauce. Earlier, someone asked what are my thoughts of canned cranberry sauce, and it's very nostalgic for me. That's super fucking unhealthy and way too sweet, and not my cup of tea. But with thinking about it, just brought me back to a space when I was younger. It's very nostalgic, and I love that when people like serve it and they don't move it, so it just has the same shape of the can. And it's like, it makes sense because it's sweet and tart, and it helps balance out all of the heaviness of a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. So if you like canned cranberry, go for it. Just don't eat it every day. You'll get the beatus or the obesity. What is it? What is it? Someone combined obesity and diabetes in this documentary. Obesities? No, it's already obesity. It was diobesity. That's what they called it. Diobesity is like this epidemic where people are getting overweight and diabetes together, so they're calling it diobesity. I thought that was fucking hilarious. Okay, so this is boiling. So now what we're gonna do is put in our cauliflower carefully, because this is already boiling like crazy and I don't want it to spit everywhere. So I've just got all this cauliflower. I am gonna, like I said, kind of cook the crap out of this because I want it to be soft so I can mash it. So I can also then combine this with the goat cheese and the roasted garlic, which I've got 2 minutes left on the garlic before I test it. It says that my chicken right now is at 143 degrees internally. I'm gonna move that probe around because I want to test different parts of it, because just where it's at, if it says that, doesn't mean it's actually where it's going to be. So one thing that's really important, where a lot of people get sick off of during the holidays with food poisoning, is because they end up stuffing their bird or their chicken, and they temp the meat of the protein, whatever it is that they're cooking, but they don't actually temp the stuffing. So what happens is all those juices drain into the stuffing that are raw and not coming to temperature, and then people are scooping out the stuffing, and they're eating the stuffing, and they're getting food poisoning, salmonella, because of the stuffing, not because of the meat itself. So make sure if you do stuffing like that, I would actually just recommend you kind of do it in a separate thing. You have more control over it. But if you do stuffing, make sure you temp your stuffing as well as your meat. The more you know. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to finish this glass, and I'm going to switch over to some terpene heavy Pinot Noir. And that's that. Yeah, Never Lucky. Temp that shit. For real. Diabetes. What would that wine be a good wine to poach pears, you think? Yeah, absolutely. This would be a fantastic Jade. This Gewürztraminer would be great for poaching pears, because it's on the sweeter side. It's not like a dessert wine, but it's not super sweet, but it's sweet for me. But yeah, this would be really good with pears. Or you get a harder pear that's not as sweet and poach it in this. Or you can get a sweet pear and then poach it in a drier red like Pinot Noir. That's kind of how I'd go about doing it. All right. So this cranberry sauce is looking awesome. Definitely condensing down as I wanted. And here we go. All right, this is dirty. This is not dirty, just a little wet. That's what the dirty dish said. Let's check our garlic, which is nowhere near to being done. So I'm gonna set my timer here for another timer. Let's go for another 15 more. Cool. I'm hoping the garlic works the way I want it, because you can squeeze it once it cools and like all the garlic just like pops right out. So we'll see if that happens. Now we're just kind of hanging out, folks, because I don't really have too much to do until stuff is pretty much done cooking. Hold on, I got shit spitting. I gotta check my cranberry here, make sure I don't burn it. Ooh, all right, this is looking good. Here, check this out, folks. I'll answer your weed, butter, oil question in a second. So here's the cranberry. And you can see I got my cauliflower simmering away over there. So this cranberry is looking good. It's definitely thickened up a bit. And let's give it a little bit of a taste to see how much that agave helped. So you can see how thick it is now. So I would consider this like a medium nappe. And since this is a sauce and I'm gonna blend it, it's gonna thicken up a little bit more. So you see how it's hugging the back of the spoon? And then if I go like this, still super tart. So we're gonna go now to a half cup of agave. You guys better be keeping track of this recipe, because I have to write it down. So I have 2 bags, so 2 1-pound bags of cranberries. I did a pinch of salt in here. And now I have a half cup so far of agave. Now you could do maple syrup, that would be really tasty. You could do honey. You know, there's pretty much any sweetener. All right, so my chicken's at 156, so I'm gonna bounce this probe around, and I'm gonna see what other areas of the bird is at temp. There's no way these are done already, so I think I just have this thing angled at the wrong spot. So I'll be right with y'all. All right, so I dropped it down between the breast and the leg, which is really where it should be. And it's down to like 145-ish, 146. So we'll keep it right there for a little bit. Ooh, it's looking good though, folks. It is definitely looking good, nice and juicy. My garlic is roasting away. I'm actually gonna bring this temp up. It's like 375. So my probe temp went down to 146, so we're looking good. I think I'm gonna pop this out now and blend it and then put it back in. Give this a little stir now that I added the rest of this agave. Okay, so y'all were asking about weed butter. So I don't do weed butter, and the reason I don't do weed butter is because when you're done making weed butter, what you're left with is ghee. You're left with nothing but the fat, not the whey of what makes the butter nice and creamy. You're basically just left with all the fat. So instead of going through all that straining process and having something that at room temperature is not as liquidy, and especially in the fridge, it doesn't hold up, I use organic versus cold press extra virgin olive oil. If you go to my YouTube channel, so just Chef Brandon Allen on YouTube, I have an entire video talking and showing you how to make your own infused cannabis oil through a sous vide machine, but also just using your oven or even like a little toaster oven you could do this in. So you can check out my YouTube channel on there, and it also goes through how to break down the dose as well. So check that out. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that off. Garlic is roasting. It is smelling like Christmas dinner in here right now with the chicken, all those herbs. Oh, it's awesome. Okay. Yeah, one Checo, it will get legal at some point, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing here. I am talking about cannabis, I'm talking about food, but I'm not all like fucking stonerific and doing bong rips and like, you know, just not perpetuating all those stereotypes that some look at as negative. They're stigmatized. So I'm just normalizing it by hanging out with y'all, talking about random stuff, and every once in a while we'll get high, but it's not just like the main focal point of everything. It's like, yes, you can combine weed with other things without it being weed in your face 24/7. So let's just make it normal, just like sipping on wine, having a beer at a baseball game. It's not a weed baseball game, it's fucking a baseball game, and you're a little bit high or you're a little bit drunk, no big deal. That's my whole goal, just normalizing it. So y'all are a part of that, so thank you. All right, so just gonna blend this. So as I blend this, obviously the pulp is going to thicken. Oh yeah, and as this cools, it's gonna thicken as well. And then once I add my orange in here, we already put some terp in here. We put some of the terpinolene. Ooh yeah, so the pectin in here, which is like, oh yeah, look how thick that is. This is great. I think this is gonna be good. I might just have to like mess with the flavors. So ooh, it smells really good. I wanna add a little citral in here as well. Citral is a terpene that is incredibly high in lemongrass. All right, let's give this a little taste. So it's tart, but it's not unbearable like it was before. The terpinene, or terpinolene, it's very subtle. The citral I want to add in here, and a little touch of myrcene as well. We're just going to bring this to another level, folks. It's going to be awesome. What is a terpene? Guaiac esport. So I'm sure you've heard of essential oils. They are the essential oil of basil, the essential oil of lemon, the essential oil of whatever else, or the essential oil of cannabis. Essential oils are built up of individual terpenes, okay? So for example, if you were to look at I got my temp telling me that something's ready here, so I'm gonna move this probe around and then I'll get back to answering what is a terpene. All right, let's check our other bird out here. All right, that seems more, I think I got it right down in the breast there, 134. All right. So essential oils, think of as essential oil as the cocktail, and terpenes as all the different ingredients, okay? So a bunch of terpenes can make up the essential oil of a various plants, okay? So for example, the essential oil of lemon is incredibly high in limonene, but believe it or not, there's also some citral, and there's also some myrcene we've got in there, and a little pinene, and some terpinolene. But it's just the ratio of it. So then you combine those terpenes with other things like flavonoids and alkaloids and different things, and that builds the entire aroma profile of a plant. There's also terpenes in fungus. Evidently there's even some terpenes in insects. I was reading about that, which I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, so when you smell lemon, you're smelling a cocktail of terpenes, the essential oil of lemon. But then orange, same citrus, might share a lot of the same terpenes, but at different ratios. So there's over 20,000 characterized terpenes in the plant kingdom. It's just a matter of what terpenes are incredibly dominant in different things that you're smelling. Lavender is an example that a lot of people are familiar with. So lavender, about 48% of the terpene profile of lavender comes from linalool, Linalool. So if you were to smell isolated linalool, you would think, oh wow, that smells like lavender. Just like you were to smell isolated limonene, most likely you would smell lemon or lime. But if I were to put myrcene in front of you, you might not smell basil or lemongrass, but the combination of all those terpenes together, you actually would. If you're watching cooking cannabis related streams on Twitch, you're probably mature. Yes. I hope I am mature. I don't know if anyone else is cooking with cannabis on Twitch or not. But, you know, if so, they can do their thing. I'm doing mine. All right, power. Low. Medium. All right. If you're ever blending anything hot, don't just like pop the top off right away, because sometimes it can actually create little like bubbles in here, little steam bubbles, and as you pop it, it'll like burst. So if you have the ability to just like open a little area like that, that will help kind of release the pressure. Just so you know, just be careful. Okay. That is hot. And the thickness is fantastic. Now remember, we're making a cranberry sauce. We're not making cranberry out of the can that's like all coagulated and, you know, all that jazz. So you can see here to get a good idea. It is nice and thick. It's actually exactly what I wanted. And now, tastes good. Excuse me. Now what we're gonna do is develop these flavors, but in the meantime, I'm going to strain out my cauliflower because it is definitely nice and done. Now I am actually not doing too good on a strainer. I may or may not have broke it recently. So we're going to use, I'm gonna kind of, you know what I can do? That's what I can do. I've got this guy. Oops. Here we go. Let me give this a rinse. This is my lettuce spinner. I was thinking about going and buying one today and totally got distracted. I spent too much time looking at wine at Trader Joe's than getting the rest of the things that I needed. Okay, so I'm just going to do my best to strain a lot of this. And just to give you an idea of how I know this is totally done, look how easily that breaks up. Okay, that's what we're looking for. It's not complete mush, but it's definitely really soft. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm taking this cauliflower that is drained decently. I'm gonna put this on this sheet tray and I'm gonna throw it in the oven for a little bit, because what I wanna do is have some of the moisture evaporate out just for a little bit. We're not going too long. Oh no, my garlic just fell. Hold on, gotta get the tongs. We're going on a garlic mission. Operation Save That Fucking Garlic. Woo! And, ooh yeah, it's good. We're looking good, folks. Ooh, piece of celery. Damn, that's fucking tasty. There was like a good amount of salt on that bite. Oh, that's gonna be absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna let this little nugget cool off. It seems like the garlic is not as soft as I want it to be. Oh yeah, we're good. All right, cool. All right, so I just gotta let that cool. And we're gonna, if it doesn't come out as a paste, we're gonna turn it into one. Okay, so we're just gonna put you right over here. Oh my God. Gross. So I'm just gonna put this in the oven for, I don't know, let's do a 10-minute. My temp gauge is saying 143, so it's definitely taking a little longer now that it's like a little deeper in the chicken. And let's see here. So that's at 145. So at 150, I'm gonna throw my, I don't know, I do like that. It is sweet, but I do like it. At 150 degrees, I'm gonna throw my Brussels and cremini mushrooms in the oven. So if anyone hears me say 150, say, hey chef, don't fuck it up. So, oh, by the way, I've had this goat cheese sitting out at room temperature because I want it to be super soft. That way when I fold it into the cauliflower here, we're in good shape. Okay, so let's bring y'all over to this. Look how velvety this cranberry sauce is. Now, if I strain this through a fine mesh strainer, it would be even more velvety. You can see some of the seeds that are in here, but this is just, look at that. Ugh. All right, so it definitely needs to be sweetened up some. So now we are going, actually, this is what I'm gonna do. I have my orange. I really want the orange zest flavor to carry over with our cranberry. So I'm going to zest with a microplane half of an orange. Oh, I can smell the essential oils of the orange, or all the individual terpenes of the orange, which would be very high limonene. I know there's citral in here. There's some pinene. There's even some myrcene. We were talking about myrcene earlier. There's a little bit of linalool. There's a bunch of different terpenes in here. All right, so there's that. We already added some terpinolene to the equation here. Let's get that down. Ooh, that's warm. That lime zest. Actually, what's interesting is I just took a little lick off my finger there, and even though I didn't add any additional sweetener, the aromatics of the orange zest, I said lime zest earlier, the aromatics of the orange zest actually make this taste sweeter because my mind is associating the smell of orange to be sweeter. Okay, so we're gonna go with another 1/4 cup of agave. So now we are at 3/4 of a cup, which is all I've got. So it better be enough of agave in here. So we've got 2 1-pound bags of cranberries. We've got 3/4 of a cup of agave. You could use honey. You could use regular sugar, but fuck sugar. We have the zest of a half of a navel orange. We have 3 drops of terpinolene. And we're gonna see how this comes together. Oh yeah. It's sweet, it's tart. We're gonna do another little pinch of salt. I'm gonna get rid of this, oh, and now, not only are we gonna have the zest in there, but we're gonna have the juice of the orange as well. We're gonna start with half This is a quite juicy orange. So we're going to start with half of a normal size navel orange. Got all that juice in there. That's really going to aid in the aromatics. It's going to aid in flavor. And then this is going to thin out a little tiny bit. Y'all will be able to see that happen. But we can always turn the heat back on, which we're going to do, and reduce this a little bit more. Okay, so, wow, that's hot. Woo! Yeah. Sorry, Twitch, I'll be over there in a second to check out any comments. I'm just focused here on our cranberry. Actually, the nappe is thinned out just a tiny little bit, but I'm totally okay with this because, again, we're making a cranberry sauce. This is going to be more of a garnish type of sauce. Wow, that tastes so good. So my thermometer is 151 degrees. So at this point, I'm going to temp this again. Actually, let's add some of this myrcene. Oh no, the citral. Okay, so I'm going to add, seriously, a drop of citral. Citral, very high in lemongrass, something like 50% of the essential oil from lemongrass is citral. We're gonna do 1 drop. This is potent. This is by far the most potent terpene that I have worked with. If we put our normal 10 drops of like limonene, oh yeah, I can smell that already. Oh, it smells so good. If we put our normal 10 drops of limonene into our diffuser, 1 drop of citral pretty much does that same. Wow, that is so unbelievably aromatic right now. I'm so glad I only put 1 drop in. Beautiful texture. Oh, I'm so happy. There's just enough sweetness. It's tart, tangy. You get the orange zest. The citral is great because it smells stronger than what it tastes, which I'm totally cool with, because now our dish is going to have these little drops of this cranberry sauce. So we'll do a couple different plate ups. And this aromatic profile that's going to come through with the herbs and the gravy, it's going to be absolutely, this is where I get excited. Okay, so now we're going to infuse our, it's not too bad. I don't feel guilty about $1. I think I have my my recommended donation set to $4.20 for no particular reason, I swear. None at all. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, all the juice coming out. Woo! All right, so let's go down in here. 159. Let's go. We're good there. Guys, I think we're set. Nice, and the fan just went off at the same time. Okay, these birds are, so I'm gonna temp our innards, which is at like 157, so that's gonna come to temp 2. And then I'm just gonna throw this down on the bottom underneath. Yep, we are set. Okay, so don't forget, y'all, that our myrcene topped bird is on the right. I'm gonna get this cooled down over here for a second. And now while the birds are resting, we're gonna get our mushrooms and Brussels ready here. So we're gonna take out, I gotta make some room. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna bring this out. So the whole reason I had the cauliflower in there was so some of the extra moisture that I couldn't completely strain out would be given a chance to evaporate. Oh, look at these birds. Oh my God, I almost dropped it. Can you imagine? All right. Now, I'm gonna crank this heat back up to get a nice char, nice texture on our Brussels. Our birds are resting. Our cranberry sauce is, let's see, fucking fantastic. I'm not even touching it. It's beautiful. The terpenoline is super, super, super subtle. The orange juice and orange zest was like the aha. That little one drop of citral, mind-blowing. Seriously mind-blowing. The fact that that tiny little bit was able to do so much is just why I love cooking with terpenes. It's such a concentrated form of flavor. It's amazing. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is grab another pot here. Some pot. Drink some little wine. Bolognese. So I don't really cook with pasta because I do gluten-free and super low carb. So I don't have one, but maybe I can do like a keto friendly version of that, but just wouldn't be penne. There is a company out there called Capello's that does a vegan, or not a vegan, ugh. They do a paleo pasta that's keto friendly. That we'll do pasta at some point. But hey, oh, by the way, Truth, are you in for the pie? I didn't see your response. Did everyone agree to get Truth for my special guest to do pie night? Because we're going to do more than pie. Maybe we can do a savory pie and then we'll do a sweet pie, but both pies. I'm down with that. We'll do like a shepherd's pie and then we'll do like an apple pie or whatever your favorite pie. I like doing the apple cherry combo. And yeah, that'll be good. Real good. All right, so I'm just gonna, this is all pretty soft. Ooh, Truth. Speaking of you, I have to reserve a little of this off to the side since you don't do cheese. Okay, that should do. Wow, it's amazing what 2 heads of cauliflower ends up looking like when all said and done. There's like hardly any in here. It's amazing. She said maybe. Oh, maybes. Fuck maybes. I'm so glad that it's like quiet in here right now. So I'm gonna set the timer. Little cranberry on my finger for 15 minutes. Our birds are resting. We're gonna get our cauli mash here, rocking and rolling. We're gonna grab some butter. This is gonna be like super cheesy, by the way. We're gonna throw in a little butter for Truths, and then we're gonna throw in lots of butter for us. Okay, good butter. And then I've got this goat cheese, which like I said, has been sitting at room temperature. And I'm gonna like, this is pretty soft. So I'm gonna do this like a little tube. And I'm gonna salt this at the very, very end. So we'll start off with about half of this goat cheese. Boop. All right. And now I'm just going to take a pretty heavy duty spoon and one that's got some slots in it and just stir the crap out of this. And the goat cheese is already just like essentially dissolved in that fast. See if I can get y'all a stir cam. Oh yeah. So it's thinning out because of the butter and the goat cheese, which is fine. This is gonna be delicious. There's like still chunks. Oh, it smells fantastic. There's like that acidity from the goat cheese. Okay, now I'm gonna take our garlic now that this is cooled, and what we're gonna do is just squeeze it. And you can see the garlic cloves just pop right out. Beautiful. A little touch of salt. The olive oil tastes good with it. And now I'm gonna just really quickly turn this into a paste. Use the side of my knife. Press this down. And there's a couple little chunks of it still, which will be totally fine. We're gonna put that in our mash. Man, just by itself, that is delish. Where are we at, folks? Our birds are resting. You guys wanna see the birds? So you can see where the butter was, a little extra crisp. Nice browning. This is one with myrcene. This is the one that you can see all the salt that's on top. I didn't oil them because I find sometimes when you oil it, they end up either browning too much or they get soggy sometimes. So we've got a nice skin on here. Try a little Scooby snack here. Flavor is fantastic. Really, really good. I'm excited to try the skin here with the myrcene on it. So there's our birds. And then there's our cranberry sauce. And this is our cauliflower, roasted garlic, goat cheese mash, which I'm gonna finish up here. I'm going to get some lemon zest in there. You guys know I love my zest. This lemon zest is going to cut the heaviness of this. Oh, and I was about to infuse some CBD into the cranberry and something distracted me. Squirrel! But we can do that easily. Okay, so we got some lemon zest in there. Like I said, this is just going to wake this up. It's gonna cut the heaviness of it. Let's see. Oh, Truth, I've got your mash over here, which is just a little butter. So my oven right now, the something is spitting around. I mean, what the hell? It's one of these mushrooms off to the side is getting too juicy and spitting. Simmer down. Okay, so here's our mash, which is looking fantastic. Get this zest. Oh, the zest. Okay, I've talked about lemon zest a couple times tonight. I won't judge you on your spelling, but what do you remember? What terpenes are in lemon? And if you Google it, I don't care, but just come on. What terpenes have I mentioned are in lemon? Okay, time to taste. My favorite part. Yay, nothing is hosting me again. Okay, Wow. Super creamy. Definitely garlic. Definitely needs salt. We're gonna throw some black pepper in here too, which is gonna totally change the way this looks. But the salt is necessary for sure. Because I didn't salt the water because I just wanted to salt this at the end. There's a nice consistency here. Like it's a softer mac and cheese, softer mash, but it's got this like creamy element to it that then has these little chunks of more of the cauliflower stem, and it's gonna give it some texture. The salt actually brought out the zest more. So we're gonna do a little bit more salt. It's not as piping hot as it once was, but we'll be all right. And then let's taste this again. Yep. Now, that's got some flavor to it. Okay, we can heat this back up as we need it. We got our, let's see, our lid. So our mash is good to go. Our cranberry sauce is rocking right now. I'm gonna transfer that into a bowl because I'm gonna need my whisk there for the gravy, which we're gonna get the gravy rocking now. Oh yeah, oh, the citral in here is just unreal, guys. I wish you could smell how potent citral is by itself, and to know what one drop did to transform this. It's just like, it's mind-blowing. It really is. You get to this gravy. The gravy is really the last thing that we need to focus on. Ooh, these Brussels are looking good. Yep, they're getting there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop this over, and I'm going to, okay, that's good. I'm gonna set this for another 5 minutes. So now I'm just going to take our myrcene one, because it was on the right, keep it on the right, and our regular, keep it on the left. Now we've got all these drippings, which we don't have as much juice as I thought. Which I'm actually kind of surprised by. So, we might not have too much of a gravy. You know why? Check this out. I knew it was in here somewhere. All right, so there's a little extra juice. Oh yeah. It's all coming down my tongues. I will check. Hold on. Jordan and Truth are about here. Oh, man. Oh. Sorry. I'm like trying not to burn myself because all of the... Yep, all down my hand. That's hot. No big deal. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. All right. Now, what I got to do is do my best to strain out this liquid, because remember I broke my strainer. So let's bring y'all back over to the main cam. All right. So I've got all this juice, which is going to be our gravy. And then all these veggies are just Flavor Town, like Guy Fieri Flavor Town, like that in insane of a flavor town. All right, we do have a good amount to make gravy. I can always add a little bit of water if I need to stretch this. And we are, speaking of stretch, we're at the home stretch here of being able to finish this up. So now I'm just gonna press this, try and get a little bit more out. Oh yeah. Truth just said, oh my God, that smells so good. Cool. All right, guys, we're about ready to rock this last little part, which is just taking our gravy. We're going to thicken this up with possibly a slurry, which is going to be with some arrowroot starch. So this should have a good amount of salt to it already, because of everything dripping down from the pan or from the chicken itself. Wow, there's so much herbaceous, delicious
flavor.
Yeah, from all the herbs that are in there.
What kind of herbs did you put in there?
I have rosemary, thyme, sage, and then add a little myrcene, terpene to one of them. Well, you know, like what makes an indica is myrcene. Added some of that, and yeah. So, okay. Hey, if you're gonna, here, you're good? Yeah, you're good there. All right. Well, come into the shot if you're gonna hang out. I'm recording this for True Terpenes. So
all right. How's it going, True Terpenes?
Say hi to True Terpenes.
Yeah, your recording's good, by the way.
Oh, well, hopefully.
I mean, I went into your video section, saw like a 2 and a half.
I meant on my camera itself. I hope that it is good to go.
Well, you
cool.
can download.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a slurry. A slurry is a starch mixed with cold water, specifically cold water. Throw it in. How much? It's up to how thick you want your final product to be. And the cold water will dissolve your starch. You can do this with cornstarch, potato starch, tapioca starch. I have arrowroot starch right now. Oh yeah, they're looking good. All right, oven's off. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this cold, fully mixed and dissolved slurry, and I am now going to pour this while whisking into our gravy.
Let me get a good shot going here.
It's good, I already got the camera there. So here's our gravy train. And I'm just going to pour this in, and I'm going to start off with about a third, maybe a little bit more, close to a half, and I'm going to see where this brings it. Now, normally, if I were cooking with gluten, I would turn this into a thicker gravy utilizing a roux, and a roux would be fat and flour cooked and then added into the sauce here. So I can tell already that this is definitely thickening up. So I'm going to cut this heat down to low and see what happens here. So I'm going to let that rest for just a minute. And while that's resting, I'm going to grab our Brussels and cremini mushrooms out of the oven, which are looking good. Now, Jordan, what I want you to do is take all of these mushrooms and so they're upside down over top of...
They're going to drain?
Yep, so all that juice is going to drain and kind of like steam up. Okay, so the gravy, do you guys like really thick gravy, runny gravy? I like it right in between. This isn't going to be super, super thick because I'm not using that roux, but I don't want it to be running. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this slurry. And then the other thing I'm going to do to thicken this even more, oh yeah, that was good. That was what I wanted. So I'm going to switch the camera here so you can see just a little bit.
I'm going to get my hands out of the way.
Oh, you're good to go. You can see this is thickened up a bit. So I probably added about a tablespoon and a half of let's just say a tablespoon total of my arrowroot to about 2 ounces of water is truly what I put in here. So that's looking good. Now, I'm gonna cut this heat all the way down to low. I'm gonna let this sit. I'm gonna give this a little bit of a taste. Super herbaceous. Like, there's so many fresh herbs that are in here. You can taste every single one of them.
Herbaceous, bodacious.
It's bodacious and herbaceous. You can taste all that. It's savory. There's a touch of salt. And now what?
This is herbaceous.
Now I'm gonna put 2 cubes of butter in here. Yum. Would you throw that in the fridge, sir? And now I'm going to whisk this butter
Go.
out.
Hey chat, how's it going, guys?
Whisk this butter into that. This is going to help thicken it a little bit, as well as make this super velvety and absolutely delicious.
Out. The only thing I wish you...
Do me a favor and minimize like any extra, like if Mage comes here, it's cool.
Talking?
Yeah, just because
That's what I was literally just going to say. I wish I
bit.
had the cough button. The pro grade ones have like the hold and
Oh,
you
really?
can't hear.
No, it's good. It's good. I just
Yeah,
for the final
useless talking.
chat. This is behind the scenes shit. Don't listen.
All right.
Okay,
That's probably
so
why I was standing out of this.
you're good to go.
So, final stage here.
All right, so my gravy is thick enough for what I like it to be. For actually, I'm gonna little bit. I don't want it to break from that butter. That's good. Super earthy. A little bit more salt. So because there's so many fresh herbs in here, this is not like. I've noticed that a lot of gravy is like one-dimensional. It's
like
just
mushroom cream.
it's gravy, you know. So this is super delicious and earthy because of all of the fresh herbs that are in here. Okay, so now I'm going to infuse the gravy because I forgot to infuse the cranberry. It's just CBD. Little CBD for you. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna put. Based off of how I measured this out before, I'm doing like a quarter of this, which is going to give us about 100 milligrams of cannabidiol CBD. CBD is psychoactive in the sense that it does modulate and change your brain chemistry, which is why it helps with things like anxiety and neurodegenerative diseases and Parkinson's and epilepsy and all this different stuff, but it is not psychoactive and high provoking like THC. So this will not make any of us feel different. That's what this is going to do for me later on. However, it is acting as a neurological stimulant of sorts because it is changing things that are happening. And all we have to do is just whisk this in. This is a CBD isolate. So at higher temperatures, it is water soluble in the sense that it will disperse evenly, but it is still not 100% water soluble. There's a lot of companies that claim that with their isolates, but no, totally not. But when it's hot like this, it will dissolve and go all about. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is take our lemon, and I'm going to juice this lemon over our roasted Brussels and cremini. This is going to pop a lot of the flavors, bounce them out, and it's just delicious. I love adding lemon to anything roasted or grilled. Beautiful. Okay, now it's time to grab our chicken. I'm gonna bring this burner, actually, I'm gonna do that very last minute.
This is festive.
What's that?
This is festive.
It is festive. It's holiday dinner
These
theme.
screens are nice for the baking tray, huh?
Yep.
So let things sit, drain under them nicely.
Okay, we're gonna Let's see here. Maybe someday I'll get to eat some of your amazing food. Hey, you never know. You never know. Jordan's gonna get to eat it, and so is Truth. That's what we do. Okay, so this one has a little myrcene on top. This is the regular one. So we're going to give y'all some board porn. I'm just gonna pull out all these herbs and discard them. Oh, it smells so good. Man, that one was really crammed in there. Okay, so I am going to just lightly fabricate our chicken. So I'm going to cut the leg. Which I have all that fat holding it in, so it looks a little bit different. There we go. So we've got a drumstick. Another drumstick. And then
hold my mic really close.
The thighs down here, which basically you just end up pulling off all of the meat off of anyway. So let's pop. You gotta pop the bone out and pretty much dislocate it, and then you can cut it. Oh my God! Or it just falls apart. Oh yeah. Super tender, super juicy. So I'm not worried about getting this all the way totally close down to the bone, only because I'm gonna end up taking a lot of this and making like chicken salad out of it. Woo, that's hot. Look how juicy that is. This would probably be better with tongs and not be burning the crap out of my hands, but Oh yeah. Do you want a little
sneak peek?
It's not going to be like salted, but
Tender chicken. We got all the veggies back here too.
oh yeah. It's hot. Yeah, it's nice. Little skin. Me too. Okay, so I put this on here, and I probably should have put it over here. How's chat doing?
Oh. How you guys doing?
I'm like in the heat of the moment here. Literally burning my hand off. Don't judge me for my fabricating skills here.
Heavy breathing ensues. Am I in the shot?
Where's that joint? There we go.
I'm just staring intently at you, just like.
It's all right. You're allowed. Pull out all the herbs. So this is the bird that.
Where's the word?
This is the bird that I put a little myrcene into the skin and I rubbed it in.
Rubs the lotion. It loves the myrcene in the skin.
It rubs the lotion on the skin.
It also gets the terpenes again.
Nice. So what I'm gonna do, just to dive in here, is I'm gonna cut up a little bit of the skin here and see if you guys can taste the terpene that I added.
So what's the kind of effect? I'll just try it.
There's this like not normal chicken flavor, but it's not like really strong terpene. It's just very, very subtle. There's like a little floral earthiness to it.
Yeah, with the whole meat in it, it'll taste good. Skin is my favorite though.
I forgot to remove the wishbone to the front here. Oh yeah. Okay.
That's a great piece.
Yep. All right, so, and then the thigh, we're just gonna pull all this later. And it's gonna be ready? Oh, there's one part of the wishbone.
Knock on wood. Ah.
God damn, this is hot. Okay. A little bit more juicy chicken. So freaking good. Okay, so we're good there. We've got tons of juices. All right, way too much. I gotta absorb some of this. Hey chat, are y'all, I just look over, I just see a bunch of, or are they pog faces? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just pulling up some of this juice so I can not have to totally clean my cutting board. Okay. Good, 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 good. Is there a name of the terpene that I added? Yes, the terpene that I added is called myrcene, M-Y-R-C-E-N-E. And I use a brand called True Terpenes. They are GRAS, which means generally recognized as safe. They are all food grade and organic, and they're non-cannabis derived, but a molecule is a molecule. So the same myrcene that you find in your indica, afghanica, broadleaf marijuana types, it's the same thing here. And there we go. Okay, so we've got a drumstick, we've got a little bit of the breast. What I'm gonna do here is check out our gravy, which is looking gravy-like. And our mash. You know what I'm gonna do?
There's a lot of things happening here, and they're all beautiful.
There is a lot of things happening.
They're all brought to you by True Terpenes.
It's actually like really easy. Like what I'm doing here is easy. It's just the way I'm like trying to fire this all at once and
get it all
not
hot,
have like hot plates and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a different world. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring our mash here to temp. Truths mash. I'm going to reheat.
Mash,
yeah, this is a cauliflower mash.
You're so kind to make you some non-dairy portion.
Truth, yours will be in here. So when we plate yours up, we'll know to get that going. So now I'm going to slice up some of the breast here. Which is looking just
juicy,
beautiful and juicy. So whenever you slice with the skin on, it just ends up getting all pulled and gross. Okay, so there's one breast. So what you can do is you can take the skin off and you can cut it up into tiny little pieces, and depending on how crispy it is, you could use it as a garnish. Yeah, I've got my cameraman here, so you can take this skin and basically just use it as a garnish, that once I'm done and I'm ready to plate, we'll put that on top. Since this is roasted, it's not super crispy, the skin. Actually, it's not hardly crispy at all. It was at first, but as it sits there and steams on that hot meat, it likes to soften up a little bit. So we've got our breast here. And then I'm gonna do, to start, just two plate ups. Both will be totally different. That's delicious. Okay, this is reheated. It's starting to spit and pop and all that jazz, which is great. We've got our roasted Brussels and cremini mushroom finished with lemon juice. And we have our gravy in the oven just keeping warm, and we have our sauce, our terpene infused, delicious. Hi, Key. No, that doesn't mean you come behind. That means I'm saying hi. Okay, it's going to be time to plate up. So let's get everything rocking. I'm gonna do an overhead view here. I'm gonna switch my camera angle just a little bit. So we can see what I'm plating, as well as the board there. We're gonna grab 2 plates. I'm only doing 2, Truth, not because I'm ignoring you, but because I'm ignoring you. Okay.
He only has so much table space. You can
So-
have mine. You can do hers. One non-vegan.
Actually, you know, you can go ahead and use this.
I plugged it in just now. 20%.
It's only at 20%?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna have you record with that one, just kind of from a distance, and actually, you know what? We'll just do that one. Do you guys think we should have this angle, or should we have like Jordan follow me here and kind of go along?
I
What are
could
your
probably
thoughts?
get a little closer. Get real into the juice.
Cool. All right. Just
Tell me which angles or point.
yeah, do your thing. I'll let you do that, and just make sure there's no light shade.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I build the shelf thing? No, this is an IKEA thing.
All right.
I can't take credit for that. Okay, you guys
time.
ready? All right, so I'm gonna do 2 different plate ups here. The first one I'm gonna do very rustic, which is just gonna be like your big old pile of mash, and everything else is gonna get built from there. And then the one over here, we're gonna do a little bit different. So I'm gonna start off with, I'm gonna put this down, and then I'm just gonna flatten it out and move it over. Again, it's not like super fancy, but you can see that I have something more controlled that I'm developing here. And now we're going to grab some of our roasted Brussels and cremini, and I'm just gonna dump this down. Wherever they fall for this one. Again, this one's more rustic. This is your grandma serving you. And then for this one, we're gonna do a little bit more controlled. So I have this base here that's acting as a glue to be able to hold on to what I've got. And then we're gonna do some of the Brussels. I'm grabbing some of these smaller ones intentionally. Okay. And now we're going to get our gravy. Now for our more controlled one, I'm going to put the gravy on now. And I'm going to just put this down right into the center. And just let that kind of work its way out for right now. And I'm going to take an entire breast just put that right on top. And now you can see it is moving a little bit, which is totally fine. We're going to take some of the skin.
I'll send you one later.
I'll take photo. Yeah, I will once I'm as soon as I'm done with these. And then for this one, we're gonna go pretty rustic. So we're gonna do a leg there, and then we're actually gonna do a whole breast with the skin and everything on it. Again, this is like you're just hungry and you're piling up your plate. And then I'm not even gonna worry about the skin because it's already on there. And now for this one, we're just going to let that gravy fall all over. And now for this one, I'm going to put the gravy off to, actually, you know, I'm going to leave that as is and keep the gravy underneath. And now we've got our cranberry sauce, which you can see is really thickened up as it's cooled. And for this one, I'm just going to go around. It's kind of nice, but it's kind of messy at the same time. And then for over here, since we have the brown gravy coming over here on this side, we're going to just let this one pull out on its own over here. And there you have it. There's two different plate ups. Both the exact same ingredients, just we've got more of a, you know, fancier restaurant style here, and then we have our more just like rustic, you know, still restaurant style. I don't know which one I like better. I really love this because it's all sliced neatly. I feel like we need something up here more, so I'm gonna try a little bit of gravy on here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think I like that. And then some fresh cracked black pepper. That's money right there. That's what it needed. Not just for the spice, but for just texture, for appearance, the whole nine. It's that's awesome. Let me take this and get it from this angle. All right, so there we go, folks. This is our Are you guys biting each other? All right, chat, sorry, I was like kind of just really in the moment here.
A little excited about your own creation?
There we go. Chicken breasts. There's our gravy, our goat garlic cauliflower mash, our terpene infused cranberry sauce with our CBD infused gravy. And then we've got our rustic guy here. So chat, do we like number 1, more fancy plate up, or number 2, rustic, or number 3, you would eat them both? So we got number 1. Do you see how no matter which one you choose, I still win? Number 1, fancy. Number 2, rustic, country style. Or number 3, you would take them both. What are you thinking?
We have 2 votes for rustic, 1 vote for classy. 2.
3s. I like the 3s. Definitely neither. Well, we have a vegetarian in the house probably.
We're playing UFO. 2, and I eat it with my hands. Fuck forks.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks. Yeah, so we have our oven roasted herb chicken with rosemary, thyme, sage, myrcene, which is a terpene that's found in those herbs, as well as isolated added. Then turn all the pan drippings into a gravy that we infuse with cannabidiol, CBD. And then I have some oven roasted Brussels with cremini mushroom, a goat cheese, and roasted garlic cauliflower mash, and a terpene infused cranberry sauce. And it's all delicious. Okay, so we've got that. We're gonna give you some veggies, some Truth veg. Good, because you're getting all the veggies. Okay. And then, Truth, are you a breast or a leg?
I'll take a leg.
A leg? Would you like it sliced or the whole?
I'm gonna eat it barbarian style.
Barbarian, so you want the whole? All right. Skin on and all.
Do you think it's warm in there at all?
Yeah.
I should set this boy in there.
It's not gonna heat it up that fast,
Oh, okay.
but you can easily throw some in a bowl and we can hit it in the microwave real quick.
Zapparino?
Huh?
Should just.
There you go. Okay, and then we've got some gravy train happening for Truth. So the thing about working with a roux instead of a starch slurry is that it doesn't like gunk up at all, as it kind of does, but as it cools, it gets a different texture. I prefer the roux over this, but this is still pretty good. And then Truth will do a little off to the side there, and some fresh cracked black pepper. Jordan will hit you with some too, or whoever's having that.
I'll hit her?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, stuff. Okay, so, and also we have our veggies here from the braise, or from roasting. Forgot we can just set some of these like, you know, boop. Oh, that actually looks great, because now we got a little bit more color on the dish. Oh yeah, I might have to take another photo. Oh, the carrots and everything? Fuck yeah.
Did you just curse?
Fuck yeah, I cursed. I can't believe y'all are still like hanging out. They're just waiting for me to critique.
Oh my god.
Okay, so the first thing that you guys have to do is just try the chicken by itself.
Okay.
Chicken?
Yep.
Well, you already gave us a bite of the chicken.
Holy crap, your hair's pink.
No.
When did
you
that
haven't
happen?
seen it? The night before Halloween.
Nice.
I got a little cranberry on there, but the skin with the chicken is definitely delectable. I didn't get that earlier.
Okay, now try the chicken with the cranberry.
Just dip it in some cranberry, rub it around a little.
That cranberry is dope. That's so good.
A little hint of that citrusy in it.
Citral,
Citral.
which is this terpene that I added, which by itself is so strong. It's actually
Ooh.
the dominant terpene in lemongrass.
It smells like a lemon head. Never mind.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it does. That's exactly it. A lemon head. It's that like spicy, tart, sweet. Oh my God, that's what it is. I've been trying to place that forever. That's exactly what it is. It's, yeah, awesome.
Do you mind if I use this knife here?
No, go for it.
Is there any bone left in either?
There should, well, there's a bone in the leg
Oh, yeah,
there.
there's a leg below.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do some of the goat cheese garlic mash. Gravy's good, all right.
Oh, yeah, let me do the mash now.
They
Chad,
said,
I'm sorry.
they said, atta girl, for you just diving in. All right, now just like have at it, but I really wanted you to taste like the chicken by itself and then
Oh,
with
wow,
that.
these cauliflower mash.
Good?
I love cauliflower man.
Well, that, and then I don't know if you would say sharpness of the cheese.
Yeah, the tang. Yep.
Wow. Anyways, can we put on some music so you don't have to hear me like sound like a Wookiee? They need.
I can't because I'm recording.
Oh yeah, they need to hear this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just.
Well, the past couple streams I've been doing, I've had music in the background, but since I'm recording it and it's going to be edited out, like I can't just have it would be all choppy, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little bit more gravy
So Chef
train.
Brandon Allen and friends. Gravy train all over me. I'm gonna lay this skin.
Do you guys want more gravy?
I don't know. I'm just a fan of the gravy. Yeah. I want to drop
On
it
or? There you
right
go.
there, and then I want to.
You can dip as you please. More?
Oh yeah, I'll take a little more. Let's see.
Whoa, that's such an interesting.
Thank you.
I really like that.
The gravy?
Yeah.
It's not just like salty, savory. It's got more happening to it. Y'all are
I feel like I'm eating
super jelly.
Christmas right now.
It's a holiday themed dinner, man.
Like with the herbs, I've never had that subtle hint of herb throughout everything. You would think that would be like obnoxious or it would overwhelm the different flavors, but everything has its own flavor, and then that's just kind of underlying.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, it's salt and pepper and terpenes, and then the raw ingredients. There's not even, and then there's some lemon and whatnot, but there's like that's a raw ingredient. There's no like added like vinegars and extra spices and everything. It's just like salt, pepper, and let everything else shine on its own. And that's what I was talking about, because I want the veggies to taste like veggies, and I don't want this to be this one-dimensional gravy throughout. You know what I'm saying? You were saying you picked up the tang from the goat cheese. There's a little lemon zest. There's roasted garlic in there, but it's really subtle. You're not just getting all garlic just blasting you away.
So how many different terpenes did you use in this?
Terpinolene in the cranberry, citral in the cranberry, and then I use myrcene on some of the chicken. I feel like I used more than that, but maybe not. I talked a lot about terpenes. I think that was it actually, but it's all really needed.
Cranberry sauce?
The cranberry was terpinolene and the citral. Yep. And then myrcene on one of the chickens. That 3 drops or whatever I put on that chicken, I could taste coming down into the gravy. It wasn't just the herbs. I could actually taste distinctly myrcene in there. So it's amazing what 3 drops can do. So if y'all are cooking with terpenes, you want to go low and slow, just like eating edibles. Low and slow until you know how it's going to make you feel, or you know how it's going to taste, or know how it's going to smell. You know what? Someone else asked if I like the light or the dark, and I prefer the dark meat. This chicken breast is honestly like, I just patted myself on my own back. That's what you missed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's super moist and juicy and like great texture. And I usually don't like chicken breast because of the fact that it's generally overcooked and dry. This is pretty damn good.
I haven't really messed with cooking chicken the last couple months just because I got over that. I never really took the time.
I really don't cook too much chicken anymore. I cook medium rare steaks. I'm Chef Brandon Allen. Thanks so much for joining me making this holiday terpene infused meal. Absolutely loved every bit of it, especially the citral and the terpinolene added to the cranberry, as well as that little bit of myrcene that was put on top of the chicken skin. The flavor was awesome. And then the terpenes coming out of all the sage, the rosemary, the thyme, and the hops that permeated through into the pan drippings for our gravy was so flavorful. It was awesome. We also have some CBD in here. We have some terpene heavy wine, which I already forget how to pronounce, and maybe if I have a couple more glasses, I'll be able to pronounce it better. Until next time, cheers.